want to talk about today is our no asshole policy. And that's the last time I'm going to swear. We make sure that everyone we bring into our real estate investing ecosystem in our business, we make sure that they're good people. And it doesn't just happen. We have to be intentional about it. So what I want to talk about today is why we are big on this, what are the drawbacks of this, and then if you would like to implement this policy within your own business, you can do that by some of the steps that I'm going to discuss. I'm going to give you some tips and we'll go from there. I want to start with why we decided to do this. So if you guys know who I am, I was a mechanical engineer for 17 years. I decided to quit my job and start real estate investing because our lives were super stressful. Two different people trying to climb the corporate ladder, raise two small children. It's just a very stressful lifestyle. And when I quit my job with one thing in mind. I knew why I was doing it. And if you don't if you don't have super duper clarity on your why, I recommend you do this exercise. It's called 7 levels of why. So basically the way it works is you ask yourself a question on, hey, why do I want financial freedom? Why do I want to build wealth for my family? Why do I want to invest in real estate? And then whatever the answer is, ask yourself the question why again. So in my case, it was, why do I want to invest in real estate? Because I want to spend more time with my kids. Why? And then you keep asking that question again and again. And usually by 7 times or before that, you will find your true why. And so in my case, what I realized was that, yes, I was quitting my job and I wanted to build wealth for my family because I wanted to spend more time with my kids. But in the end, I wanted to be the one in control. At the end of the day, the reason I wanted to do that is I didn't want somebody else telling me how to live my life, how to spend my time. I was a hardworking person. I had become a subject matter expert in a very niche topic. So I knew I was smart, right? Everyone here today is intelligent, right? So if you're smart, if you are hardworking, there is no reason someone else should be telling you how to live your life. And that was the biggest reason I quit my job is I wanted to be in control. I wanted to take that power back. I wanted to be in control of my destiny, of my time. And when I quit my job, I had to think about what kind of environment I wanted to create for my business. So if you work in corporate, you have to work with all kinds of people. There's no choice there, right? You have to work with the people around you. And the corporate culture inherently is kind of in favor of people who are not nice, right? Niceness isn't really rewarded. What happens is sometimes we have to work with people who might be destroying that nurturing organizational environment around us, right? Sometimes we have to work with people who are driving away the good people. That's a part of being in corporate. But in business, you can take that power back. You can take that control back and you can decide what kind of ecosystem you want to create. And because I was very clear about why I was doing it, I wanted to be in control of my destiny, and not in that type A kind of way, although nothing wrong with being type A. But truly, I wanted to decide what kind of environment I wanted to be in. And at that point, I made a decision that I'm going to create a nurturing ecosystem in my real estate investing business. I'm going to create an environment around me that's going to constantly offer win-win situations to everyone around me. And so it all starts with that decision. So you need to first make that decision, make that choice, and decide, is this important to you, right? That's one aspect of it. I really wanted to create that environment. But it also means you have to know yourself really well. So something I learned the hard way, and I'm going to ask this question to you guys. So if you had to choose one word in terms of how you define yourself as it relates to you being a business owner, whether you are a business owner today or you plan to be a business owner in future. And by business owner, I mean real estate investing. We see real estate investing as a business. We teach it as a business. We run it like a business. So if you had to use one word, what would that be? Some examples could be pioneer, nurture, connector. Drop it in the chat. I want to know what this group is made up of. Could be organizer, creative, right? So what is that one word that comes to mind immediately when you describe yourself as a business owner? How do you visualize yourself as being a successful business owner? Caroline says, collaborator, beautiful. When I first got into investing, and for the longest time, I thought I was more like an organizer manager kind of person. Isha is saying integrator. Siobhan is saying organizer. Cassie is saying problem solver. Love that. So for the longest time, I thought I was this organizer / project manager kind of person. And I always thought that my strong suit was breaking up big processes into smaller chunks and then getting them done, and then figuring out whether I can automate, eliminate, or delegate them. I was very good at that because my background was in systems and processes. And that's really what I thought I was good at. And I am good at that. But as I got to know myself more and more, and you really have to work on yourself if you're not a part of a good high-level mastermind or a coaching program. I highly recommend you do that. You really have to grow yourself throughout this journey. I found out that I'm actually a nurturer. And I see that we have a lot of women in the group. And if you're a woman, I think I almost feel like I am betraying the women that came before me, who worked so hard to get us to a point where we have the same rights as men, if I come across as a nurturer, because that just, women work so hard to have the same equal rights in the workplace, get the right to vote and all that. And I'm like, I'm not a nurturer. How am I don't say I'm a nurturer. But as I worked on myself more and more, I accepted that. And I realized that I'm a nurturer. And it's very important to me to create that nurturing environment around me. And getting other people's success means a lot to me. And I didn't know that. So you really have to understand who you are first. And then once I figured out who I am, it became more important to me to design a business that fit in my own genius zone. Cheryl says, almost seems it's contradictory, right? 100%. It was such a moment of awakening for me the day I realized that. Many objective organizational studies state that women are in general nurturers. And that's what I was fighting against. And I'm sure you can relate if you are an independent woman, that you fight against these stereotypical labels. And if you're a man, I am sure that there are certain things that are imposed on you that the way you're supposed to be. And you fight that sometimes because you don't want to fit that stereotype, right? So it took me a lot of work on myself to accept that I'm a nurturer. So figure out who you are. It's really important to figure out who you are first, and then figure out how you can design a business that allows you to operate in that genius zone. And who said that successful 7-figure business owners, who said that successful CEOs cannot be nurturers? Who the hell said that, right? You can be a nurturing person and make money. You can get other people's success and be successful. It's not either or, it's and. So accepting whoever it is that you are, and then designing a business that allows you to work in that genius zone. That is what's most important. And then we know we all have these things that we call kryptonites, right? Like, what's your kryptonite? And I know what's mine. So for me, because I'm such a nurturing person, I always neglect self-care. The idea of self-care to me comes last, right? So figure out what your kryptonite is, and you can find ways to get around that. So in my case, I've had a health coach for 2 years. I'm probably going to always have a health coach because that forces me to put myself at the top of the list. And I don't mean myself by, when people talk about like spa days and bath bombs and all that stuff. That's not what I mean by self-care. I mean, truly just taking care of yourself. So whatever your kryptonite is, figure out what that is and then find a solution so you can bridge that gap. If your kryptonite is, and I can tell you, from experience, a lot of people, they are very good at leading. They're very good at coming up with ideas, but they're not very good at executing. If that's what it is, figure out how you can bridge that gap. Can you outsource that? Can you work with a partner who is good at that? Can you work with a coach who can help you go around that, right? So figure out what that gap is and then bridge that. The other step is to understand what it means by working with good people. A lot of times, especially if you've always been an employee, you're not really allowed an opinion on people. Gossip's a whole different thing. That's between friends at the office. But in reality, in corporate, you're not really allowed to have an opinion on people. And what that does is it doesn't let that natural instinct in the gut feeling and knowing the difference between safe, good people with good boundaries and others, it doesn't allow that instinct to flourish. So develop that, work on that, and we call it the radar, right? So work on that radar so you can spot people you can trust and not trust. And then once you know yourself really, really well, the message that you put out to the rest of the world, the way you come across in the rest of the world is going to repel the people who don't fit that ecosystem that you want to create. But you really have to own that truth. And I feel like that's a cliche, like it's used a lot, like owning your truth. But I truly mean it in this case. You have to understand who you are. You have to learn how to spot people who are not going to respect those boundaries. And then you have to own that truth, and those people will be repelled. That is the process. That's exactly how it works. Yes, so I am using kryptonite as weakness. I think more than weakness, I feel like when you have a personality trait, there's always the other side of the coin. What's that other side of the coin that is not ideal for you? That's what I mean. We weren't really making that top priority until, and I'm going to give you an example of what happened one day, and that's going to give you an idea of how this can impact you financially. We're not just talking about it in terms of, this is not a woo-woo theory, right? This can really impact your numbers. So this is what happened. We were working with a lender, and it was a major refi. I think it was 6 or 7 properties. It was over $1 million. We were going to refinance it. I had that gut feel in my interactions with him, the way he talked about other people, right? We are all smart enough to tell when there are those red flags. But on paper, everything was fine. So we continued to move forward. They were giving the best terms. There was really nothing wrong that I could put my finger on. But the way that person talked about other people and the way that long-term relationships didn't mean as much to them, I should have had those red flags, right? So at the closing table, then we're moving forward. At the closing table, we found out that instead of, I think we were going to pull out over 100K in cash out. And it turned out that at the closing table, there were so many mistakes. It ended up, the closer showed up and she was like, this shows that you're going to bring 35K to the table. And we're like, what? No, there's something wrong. And we realized that when you don't catch those red flags early on, I mean, it may go through, there may be exceptions and things may just work out fine, but it has a direct financial impact on your business as well. I mean, of course, we at the closing table, we couldn't go through with it, found another lender, everything's fine. This was a while ago. What I want to tell you is that made me realize that these things have a direct financial impact. It's not just for mental health. It has a direct financial impact. It also has an impact on how you're building the community. You giving your business to good people impacts the community. So many reasons why this should be done. We have a 3-step process, and I touched on some of the things from that process in this meeting so far, but I'm just going to go through the 3 steps. So here's the 3-step process that you can use to make sure that everyone that you're bringing into your business ecosystem aligns with your vision for what the business should be. Number 1 is to remove people that are unethical, that don't fit how you want your business to be. The second one is radar. You have to work on developing a good radar. And as I was mentioning before, not a lot of us are well versed in this radar. So develop that, and it takes time. Trial and error is okay. So the first one is to remove. The second one is to have the radar, so that you can make sure that people coming into the business are people you are choosing to bring into your business, right? Like, learn to spot them. And the third one is repel. So what happens when you start owning your truth is you're going to automatically start repelling the people that don't fit your vision, that don't align with the nurturing environment that you want to provide. You really have to be okay with not everyone liking you, right? I'm not saying come across as who you're not, but whoever you are, dial it up to an 11, and you will automatically eliminate those people that they wouldn't even want to come close to you or do business with you. And that's the easiest, right? So it usually works in these 3 steps. Remove, clean house, develop a good radar, and then the third piece is automatic. You're going to start repelling. One of the things that you have to remember as you do this is that good people have their drawbacks too. So what I found was I love working with good people, and if I bring somebody who doesn't fit that into my ecosystem, there's a lot of friction. It doesn't work. But they have their drawbacks too, because they are inherently ethical. They're inherently good people. They care about other people. They may do things sometimes that are inconvenient for you, and it's all good. In terms of employees, so my assistant, she's super sweet. She's really nice. Sometimes what would happen is I would ask her to do things, and then something else would come up, and then she wouldn't be able to say no, and then she would start to do those things. So I had to coach her into being a good, nurturing person, being this positive person, and creating this good environment around her was not enough. She still needed to learn to prioritize and learn to say no, and learn to say no in a way that aligned with herself, right? And so just because we bring good people around us doesn't mean everything is going to be amazing and everything's going to fall right into place. There are some drawbacks, and you have to learn how to work with them and coach people around you into helping you achieve the environment that you want and still get the things done the way you want them to get done. So in terms of takeaways, Cheryl says sorting and attracting like people. Yes. Gabriella says that I can still be me and not see it as a sign of weakness and not let others take advantage of it. 100%. Caroline says a lot of us don't know who we truly are. So true. And I think we're all in flux, and we're all a work in progress. And even if you figure out who you truly are today, we're always reinventing ourselves as it should be. And it may change a few years down the line, and that's okay. And it's part of our own evolution. And that's why working on ourselves is a continuous process. It cannot be like, oh, I did this work and this is the outcome and I'm done. It's not like that. That's a really good point. I like the 7 whys activity. Yes, do it tonight. I also like the idea of bridging the gap with my weakness. I have to work on communicating my ideas, especially public speaking. Yes, that's great. So if you're gonna do the 7 whys activity, I'm gonna give you some tips on that. I would say if you can, it's very hard to do that. I'm a mom. I have a 4 and a 6-year-old, but take about 30 to 45 minutes of your time and set that aside and be by yourself and get in a meditative state where you can be uninterrupted, no screens, especially no screens. Take the time to sit and be able to think about it. That can change the outcome of this exercise. So take some time for yourself and get that done. All right, you guys. So I'm gonna take off. Thank you for being here today. Make some space in your ecosystem for good people. Eliminate the ones that don't fit you and your ecosystem. We are so big on this. Whether it's real estate or whether it's within our coaching program, if we find that, we have lenders as a part of our coaching program and we have such a thorough vetting process, even within our program, we'll make sure that even the students that come in, we vet them. It's like 3-step process to vet them. Don't be afraid to put these processes in place for your real estate investing business. And let me know how it goes. DM me on social media. I'm always, either myself or my team, we're always in touch with each other. Talk to us. Cassie says, agreed. We worked with a lender that we will not work with again due to what was discussed here. Lending can be it's inherently a very predatory industry. So good you made that decision. All right, you guys, I'll see you next time. I'm sure you're following me somewhere, email, social media. We'll have another meeting. Come and join me.